Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. Down along the rocky shore, some make their home. They live on crispy pancakes of yellow tide foam. Some in the reeds of the black mountain lake, with frogs for their watchdogs, all night awake. That was just a small excerpt from The Faeries by William Allingham, a poem about fairies in the Irish woodlands. This is a very famous poem and has been quoted in popular Hollywood films such as Hellboy and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In this poem, the poet is not referring to the angel fairies, but pointing towards the mischievous, rather malicious fairies. Hello everyone, this is Shilpa and I warmly welcome you all to yet another fact-filled, story-loaded episode of O Folk. Hope all of you guys are doing well and keeping safe. We started on the note of fairy and fairies. Now, both fairy and fairies are used for two different mythical spirits or figures. Fairy is a word derived from Latin word fatum, which means fate. Fairies are considered to be a group of young and pure spirits. Fairy, on the other hand, is a word that has been derived from Gaelic fair she, which means man of the she. Unlike the fairies, fairy are considered to be evil, horrid, and mischievous creatures. These mythical figures are portrayed as spirits that know easy ways of stealing and misleading people. Most of the time, we hear stories about the good fairies, but today's story is about the not-so-good one, the fairies. You are listening to O Folk with me, Shilpa. Once upon a time, there lived a farmer, John, and his wife, Molly, near Coolgarrow Island. They had 3 children, and the youngest one was a baby. The wife took care of the family primarily, as well as the farm. One day, while her 2 older kids and husband went to the chapel, she called a fairy man, or an evil fairy, about a disorder one of her cows had. So she got late to the chapel and felt really very upset about it. Late that night, the husband woke up by the cries of his children, calling out, "Mother, mother!" He rubbed his eyes, sat up, and found that his wife was not there by his side. He asked his kids if they saw anything. They said that they saw the room full of little men and women suddenly appear out of nowhere. Those men and women were dressed in white, red, and green. Their mother was in the middle of them. She walked out of the door as if she was in some kind of trance or sleepwalking. The husband was taken by surprise. He walked outside, searched everywhere, but didn't find her. The search continued for days, but there was no trace of his wife. The poor man was very upset and missed his wife terribly. He also felt sorry for his kids at how neglected and dirty they were all day long. One of their neighbors was kind enough to take care of the kids and cook food for them in her spare time. The youngest baby, however, had to be given to a nurse to be taken special care. One day, while he was going to work, another neighbor who used to treat women in that area came up to him and started walking with him. She told him something which was startling and bone-chilling at the same time. Just as I was about to fall asleep last night, she began, I heard a horse tramp on the grass followed by a knock on my door. When I opened the door, there was this good-looking dark man riding a black horse. He asked me to get ready as a woman needed my help. As I got ready, he took me by my hand and made me sit behind him. I was in haste, asked him where we were heading to. He said that we will know soon. Saying that, he drew his fingers across my eyes and it made me blindfolded. Not a single ray of light could pass my eyes. I held to him tightly and we continued our travel. During that time, I had no idea where we were going or which direction we were traveling. But after some time, I felt ground underneath me. The man drew his fingers on my eyes one more time and I could see again. When my sight was back, there was this huge castle in front of my eyes. We went through the door and passed some grand hallways and rooms. Royal men and women walked past me. At last, we came to a bedroom with a beautiful lady lying on the bed and a fine bouncing baby boy beside her. The lying lady clapped her hands and in came the dark man. He kissed her and the baby and praised me for coming. He gave me a bottle of weird green ointment to rub the child all over. I rubbed the child and immediately my right eye began to twitch. Obviously, I gave it a rub, and when I stared back, I was in absolute surprise and fear. The beautiful castle room has now turned into a big, rough cave with water oozing over the edges of the stone. The lady, her little baby, and even the man were suddenly transformed into this wrinkled, weak, poverty-struck creatures. Nothing but skin and bone. Their jewels and expensive attires changed into torn rugs. The dark man who brought me there just told me to go to the hall door and wait, and mentioned that he will join me in a bit and take me back home. Just as I reached close to the door, my eyes stopped to see Molly, your wife. She looked petrified and puzzled. She spoke to me in whispers. She mentioned that she was brought to this magic land to take care of the child of the king and queen of the wicked fairies. But she felt stuck and wanted to come home to you guys, to her family. She said there is only one option to take her back to the real world. The entire court will pass the cross near this place called Temple Shambo next Friday night. Temple Shambo, by the way, is a place in Wexford, Ireland. They will be passing on a visit to the fairies of Old Ross, which again is another village in Ireland as well. John, if you can catch her by the hand or cloak when she is also riding by and hold her tight enough to not let her go off your grip, then you can pull her on this side of the world. This said, Molly told me to keep quiet and listen to what the dark man told me to do. When the dark man finally came, he didn't even notice Molly and had no suspicion of me. When I came out, before he blindfolded me again, I tried to look around quickly just to figure out where we were. And to my surprise, I found that we were in the dyke of the Rath of Crumog, which again, for my listeners, is a hilly place in Ireland. I was on the horse again, but this time, it was not really a mighty horse, but a big ragweed in reality. I had to sit on it, and I dreaded that I will fall from it any second. However, I landed safely in my own house. The Fairy King gave me 5 guineas into my hand after we touched the land, thanked me for helping his family, and went off saying goodnight. This whole experience was a nightmare, and I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. Next morning, when I went back to look at the 5 guineas, I found that they were not real guineas, but were actually 5 dry, wrinkled leaves of oak tree, which, as you know, is considered a bad luck to the person you're giving. Just imagine how deceiving and how pathetic these fairies are. Farmer John and the lady continued discussing this bone-chilling experience and tried to streamline a concrete plan on rescuing his wife, Molly. Then came the Friday night. They both came standing where the mountain roads crosses the ones going to Ross. They stood looking towards the bridge of Thwar. With a little moonlight, they could see everything faintly. After a few quiet moments, suddenly the neighbor yelled, "Here they come, horses galloping and feathers tossing." John looked everywhere, however he couldn't see anything. But he saw his neighbor was standing beside him with eyes wide open and shaking. Excited, she screamed, "I see your wife riding on the outside so that we can easily grab her. When she comes closer, I will give you a nudge and do as we planned." Their hearts pumping loud, they still stepped ahead, ready to make the miracle happen. John couldn't see a single thing, but still he gathered all his strength and was ready to bring back his wife from the mythical land. He started feeling the rustling and rumbles. He felt the horses coming closer. His neighbor kept a close eye since she was the only one able to see the people from the fairy world. And finally, he got the much-awaited push from his neighbor. He spread out his arms and there was his wife's waist within them. He could finally get a glance of Molly. Suddenly, there was a complete chaos and John was surrounded by weird-looking creatures roaring at him and trying to attack him. These creatures tried to pull his wife on their side and take her back with them. But he made a cross with his hand and tried to woo them off in the name of God. All this while, he held to his wife tightly with all the possible strength he had. Finally, the battle came to an end and Molly was fainted in the arms of his husband. Molly was finally united with her family. She woke up next morning and saw the smiling faces of her kids. She realized from where it all started, and never ever again she called a fairy man for any sort of help. Moral of the story is never ever rely on a bad or an evil company for anything. You might be in a situation where it feels like that's the only option, but still, that will never be the best option. There are some people who only spreads negative energy, and expecting anything good from them goes in vain. So, better stay away. Since we have been diving into the enchanting world of Irish folktales, and this podcast is all about keeping the oral storytelling tradition alive and taking it forward, in today's folk fact, I thought of dropping some light on this traditional group of oral storytellers from ancient Ireland who were custodians of history for centuries. They were known as Shanachi, spelled as Seanchai. This means a bearer of Shanachs or old lores. In ancient Celtic society, bards or poets reciting epics or lyric poems held a very high position of esteem in the society, almost next to the king. Bards could memorize huge amount of poetry, which they carried with them to various places in and around Ireland. and performed live. Without the presence of a written language, it was, in fact, their lyric poems and songs that used to be the only historic record available. Over the time, bards evolved into storytellers called Shanahi, which continued to keep the oral storytelling tradition alive. And with them, the ancient literary tradition of Ireland travelled into the modern world. Ireland is a proud beholder of one of the richest folklore tradition in the world. They hold great appreciation for oral spoken words and have been successful in creating one of its kind, unique and beautifully poetic lyrical oral literature. So, in spite of the modern technology and communication modes like television, radio, social media, they have been able to keep this tradition alive. In the 20th century, Shanahi and Tony Award nominee actor Eamon Kelly wrote, and I quote, "The storyteller was the local historian and genealogist, a walking library, the repository of folk wisdom and culture. Legends like them have been carrying the history, genealogies, myths and legends and knowledge of the society for centuries now. And today, they inspire new age storytellers from across the globe." That will be all for this episode. Hope you liked this unique and extraordinary story as much as I loved digging into it, researching about it, and learning so much about the oral folklore culture of Ireland. Thank you for being my fellow passenger in this journey of folktales. We are in the last month of the year. 2021 has also been an extremely challenging year. Time to look back and reflect. So much we have lost as communities, but what we have gained is humility, value for what we have, and gratitude towards all those people who have supported us, stood by us unconditionally, especially our frontline workers, our health workers. Last 2 years have shown some of the toughest times for our generation, and we still don't know what further challenges are awaiting. So, while we look back and reflect, thank for what we had and celebrate the little joys of life, let's also remember to not put our guards down, given that news of a new variant, Omicron, is making rounds. Let's do our part. Let's be careful and protect ourselves as well as the people around us. On that note, I say it's a wrap. Stay connected with OFolk through social media. Continue listening to my stories, and please keep sharing. OFolk is available on more than 20 podcast platforms globally, so listen to me on whichever platform you prefer. And once again, please help me spread the word. Take very good care of yourself, and we will catch up in the next episode, which will be the last episode of the year 2021, and also the last episode of the first season of OFolk. Yes, with the year ending, we will also wind up the first season, so the last episode will be different. It will have something new. We will look back into OFolk's journey in 2021 and where we will be heading in the new year. So don't forget to join me in 2 weeks from now. Goodbye and love you all.